And we're here. It is Sew Together Tuesday. I'm Teresa Coates. I'm your host. We wanted to show you a little bit of Cloud Cuddle to get the show started because that is what we are talking about today. So that's a lovely little blanket that was made using 2 layers of Cloud Cuddle and some binding, which is kind of what we talked about when we talked about Cloud Cuddle a month or so, 2 months ago, that we talked about when it first came out. You can find that on YouTube if you're interested in learning more about Cloud Cuddle. So you can check that out. But that's an easy way of using Cloud Cuddle to make just a simple little blanket. Today, we're going to take Cloud Cuddle and we're going to push it into a whole new area. And we're going to do apparel. Before we get too far, of course, we want to talk about our giveaway. So if you share the video, we will be choosing 2 winners at the end of the show, one on YouTube and one on Facebook, that will win a little prize package with the Sew Together Tuesday tote bag, which I will say is a lovely little bag to carry your sewing stuff into, you know, a little retreat or sew days, and a fun little mug to have your coffee in. Ta-da! And then we will send you 2 yards of Cloud Cuddle. So that'll be pretty exciting. You'll be able to get some stuff, play with it yourself, see what you think, and yeah, get your hands on this stuff. So the other thing I want to do before we get into it is to ask you guys that if you have found Cloud Cuddle in a store, I would love for you to post it in the comments where you found it. Because it's still pretty new, it's not always easy to find. So we'd like to kind of share the knowledge that if you know you saw it somewhere, post it in the comments and let us know where you saw it. So you can kind of let other people know where they can get it as well. Like I said, it's a new substrate, so it's not super out there yet. But we just keep adding more. It's been very, very popular. So I think when they first started it, there were, I don't know, maybe a dozen prints, if that many, maybe 6. And now they just keep adding more. And we've got some fun ones. We've got some Christmas stuff, right, Huck?
Yeah, I think there is a Christmas. We don't have it on the set, but
yeah,
yes, there's some great prints coming out.
So let's show really quick here, just like kind of the variety that we have. And we'll talk about these more later, but like this is a camo one that we're going to use. This is the leopard one, a cute little unicorn one that I just got, and the crosshatch.
And for folks who are totally new to Cloud Cuddle, the thing about that sets it aside is it is double-sided. It could be a great substitute for fleece in a pattern because of that. And it's got a nice solid white on the backside. So you don't have to line a piece of apparel with this fabric. Yeah. It's already soft on the, it's going to be soft on the inside. Super
great. So I used it for a robe and I absolutely love it. I think it's the best thing ever. So yeah, we're going to talk about that. The other thing about it is it's so squishy.
This is the cloud part of Cloud. It is, yeah, it's got bounce back.
It's so great. It's just got all this like yummy squish. So anyway, we're going to talk about that and how to use it for apparel today. So today we are bringing in a guest, and we can go ahead and bring her in. So I'm bringing in Ajaire Parello. You can correct me if I got it wrong. Is that right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Okay, so Huck, I'm going to ask you to walk that direction and turn up my volume just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Okay.
Barely.
Okay, got it.
So we did have her in my ear too loud earlier, and now I can't hear her. And that's great. You're too far away from me to listen. There we go. All right. So again, we're having issues with our little spinning screen that seems to be through our streaming service. So please bear with us. Just gonna keep doing this little thing, I guess.
Twice in a row.
Twice in a row. I know. And sometimes, like yesterday, I went 30 minutes and didn't do it, and then today it's deciding to act up. So, anyway, we'll get through it. We're just gonna, zoom you up every once in a while, Ajaire. So Ajaire is one of our brand ambassadors, and she is also a pattern designer, clothing pattern designer for her own company called Designs by Ajaire. Correct?
Mm-hmm, correct.
Okay. And she's been doing this for a while. We'll have her, just introduce yourself a little bit, Ajaire, and explain why you decided to do this pattern with Cloud Cuddle.
Yeah, so I've been designing primarily children's clothing for, I don't even know now, 10 years maybe not quite 10. And I've been a Shannon Fabrics brand ambassador for 3 years, 4 years, 3 years, I think. And when I originally started being a brand ambassador, one of my main reasons for wanting to join was the old spa cuddle that was double-sided. And I loved it and just fell in love with all the rest of the cuddle. and got completely submerged in the world of Shannon. So I started thinking of all these great designs I could do with Cuddle to bring it more to the apparel side, because we love all the quilts, we love all that, but I want people to be wearing the stuff. It's so soft. So that went away right after COVID or during COVID, that particular type. And so when they brought Cuddle in, this Cloud Cuddle in, I couldn't get my hands on it fast enough. And I cannot tell you guys how much it's even better than the Spa Cuddle. I don't know what they did. I don't know how they did it, but it sews easier. It's even softer. I mean, it's really magical. So
it has like really nice density, I think.
Yeah.
I'm not sure of a better word, but it's like really good.
Yeah, but for some reason, even with that density, it goes through the machine easier. And I didn't even have a problem with the Spa Cuddle going through the machine, but I have some old pieces still of the Spa Cuddle, and I was trying them side by side, and I was like, I'm not going crazy. It really is even better than the old Spa Cuddle.
It is even better.
So when I have 2 young girls, and they both want to just be, covered in Cuddle all day long. And when they found that fabric, they wanted to wear it. So I designed the Morgana zip up cover up, which is what you guys are talking about today. And I designed it with the Cloud Cuddle in mind. So it's a minimal stretch knit pattern. So that means you need very, very little stretch. It's great for all those knits that you really can't use for anything else, because a lot of times with a knit pattern, you need it to be able to stretch a ton. And Cloud Cuddle stretches, but not a ton. And so my minimal stretch block works perfectly for this. So that's sort of where it began. And I can't, the cover up you have back there, my 4-year-old has literally been asking for it for 2 weeks since I sent it off to you. Yes, because she just wants to sit in that all day long and spin and twirl. And I promised her I'd make her another one this week, because that cannot come fast enough, even if you shipped it back today, because she needs to be wearing it.
And it is super soft and lightweight. Like they're really just super comfortable to wear, which I really like. So this one, you said this is the one that you made for your daughter. And you were telling me when you sent it that she has worn it and washed it a ton, right?
Yep. I mean, she hasn't washed it, but I have. Absolutely. Yes.
Right.
Just teasing.
You wore it, you washed it.
Yes. We used it all summer as a cover up for the pool for swim lessons. And of course, she wanted to wear it every day because it was her spinny, twirly favorite one. So every day we get back from the pool, dump all the towels and everything right into the laundry. And unfortunately, I don't pay any attention to the laundry rules unless I'm actually teaching a Shannon fabric class. And when it's my own stuff, I'm terrible and just throw it all together, because who has time? And I'm telling you, I did not launder it the best way that I could. And shockingly, it's just as soft as it was originally. There's been no change to it at all. It's really a spectacular fabric.
So you can see, so come on in here close and show. So this is the brand new off the bolt fabric that I just got. And this is the washed, I was going to say washed up. That's not really what I meant. But, but you know what I mean. This is
it should be washed up.
Washed zip up hoodie that she's got here. That I can tell that it's been washed.
Yes,
but it is not well worn after a summer of swim classes, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm impressed with how well it wears. And I feel like there's a lot of this stuff that we don't really know how it's going to behave until we get the chance to actually try it out. And she tried it out really well for us, and I appreciate that.
And honestly, if you took care of it the way we recommend you wash it, I think you'd have no change. I was hard on it.
It's supposed to be just like regular Cuddle is low heat, cool water, no fabric softeners. But even with
the only one of those things I did was the no fabric softeners. We never use any of those things, but the rest I wasn't as careful as I should be. So I think if you treated this fabric like the normal Cuddle, I mean, I don't see it, having any kind of adverse effects at all. I mean, it's so nice.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So this is one version. So we have 3 versions kind of the Morgana zip up today. Before we get too far, we have show notes. So you can go find those. That's the one on your daughter, right? That's the picture I put on there. So we have this on the website. So if you go to the blog, you can find the show notes here that has a whole bunch of information that we've gotten from Ajaire. She's sharing her best tips on here, as well as some of her favorite tools, other patterns that work with Cuddle and the Cloud Cuddle, and some of our information that we used in the Cloud Cuddle show that we did before. couple months ago. All right, so download that from the blog. And don't forget to get that because it has lots of good information on it. So the Morgana Zip Up is this pattern. Okay, so here's the cover of it. And so we're going to talk about a few different things here with Ajaire. So you can see there's a couple versions. These are the versions that I have right here. This is like magic. I have the pattern and I have the samples right here. So this is it. So I wanted to ask you, Ajaire, this one I noticed, this is one tier, but it's much longer in the body. So what's happening here?
So there are 6 views. 3 of the views use a cropped bodice that is cropped right at about the waist. And then you can choose to either have a band on it and have it be a nice, cute cropped, like a zip-up hoodie, or there's a 1 tier or 2 tiers. And 2 tiers is the one that you have behind there. The other one is a dropped waist bodice. So the other 3 have a drop waist bodice, so it ends just about at your hip. And then from there, you can do 1 tier or 2 tiers.
Got it. And then this is the one that I made that is, let me just lay it down because it's easier than trying to hold it up in the air. So this is the cropped body one.
Yep.
Okay. So there are 3 lengths basically, and then you can have it so it has a band at the bottom or the actual tiers, right?
Yep.
All right, great. So lots of variety in this pattern, which I think is super fun. So I did this one, like I said, this one is called Cloud Cuddle.
Forest Tales?
I know.
No.
He'll find it. Jeremy will find it and put it up there. I always want to say Woodland something, but that's not what it is.
It's one of the new ones, so I'm not sure what the name is.
It's one of the new ones. We have it in there. So if Jeremy finds it, let me know. Well, throw it up on the screen. So this is a cute Cloud Cuddle, and then this one we have the crosshatch and the leopard. So there's several varieties. We'll talk more about all of them later in here, but we wanted to show you the different varieties of the pattern. Part of the reason that I brought Ajaire on was to really talk about how the pattern works. So a lot of us have bought PDF patterns, and then sometimes they just sit in the PDF file because we don't really know how to tackle it. So there was a few things about this one that I wanted to talk to Ajaire about and have her explain to you guys so that you can understand. Oh, and I forgot, Ajaire had a coupon code for your shop. Can you tell us what the shop is?
It's just Shannon, all one word, Shannon. Just it'll be 20% off of any of the patterns in the shop. So I'm sure you guys have a link there, but it's callajaire.com/shop, and feel free to use that code to get 20% off patterns.
Very cool. And that one is so it's called Ajaire, and Ajaire's name is spelled AJAIRE.com. So there should be one in there. But we can get that up there. So the coupon code is important because then you can go get the pattern. You'll get the download. You'll buy that, you download it, and then you got to deal with it. So that's what we kind of wanted to talk about a little bit here. Not sure. Let's show the video and then we'll talk about some more stuff. Okay. Okay. Oh. Not that one. We want the video.
When it comes time to print out the pages for the Morgana Zip Up, it's helpful to know that the pattern pieces are layered. What that means is you're going to use this icon over on the right here. This is an Adobe Acrobat Reader. In the new versions, it's on the right. It opens up the layers. In the old versions, it was on the left. Here you're not seeing any layers listed, and that's because this first page doesn't have any actual layers. The layers are all at the pattern pages at the end. So what I do is click List Layers for all pages. So that way we can see here that somewhere in this PDF, all of these layers are available, and they're in the pattern pages at the end. So we've got sizes newborn to 16, and these little eyeballs will say whether or not that pattern is visible. So you decide which view you're going to make. Let's say view C. You figure out what size you're going to make. Let's say a 2T. And then you're going to go down to the print guide. And what you would do is you kind of scroll in and you look view C and size 2T. These are the pages that we'll need to print. So you don't need to print any other pages in these. You don't need any extra pieces. You know, some of the other views have more layers of like tiers. They have more ruffle panels, things like that. So all you'll need for view C will be just in those pages there for that size. And then you do want to look over and make sure you've decided whether you want to do a long sleeve or a short sleeve. And views A through C do have an optional pocket, so you can decide whether or not to print that. But those are the layers you'll need to print. To show you how the layers work, let's go down to the actual pattern pages. So here I've scrolled down to where the pattern pieces print. It starts at page 34. And you can see with all the layers selected for view, it can get kind of muddy in here to figure out which lines you need to actually cut out. It also would offer every single pattern piece, and some views don't even use certain pattern pieces. So what we'll do is, I said size 2T, so we undo all of these other layers. And as you can see, they're all going away as we click through. Each size has its own color and own pattern on it, so you can see it in black and white, even if you don't have a color printer. Obviously, it shows up better in color. But with the black and white, you can kind of tell the difference in the lines just because of the type of line that's there. But now that we've clicked every layer off except for the 2T, all that's available is the 2T here to print. And with that print chart that I showed you earlier, you'll know exactly which pages to print. Like, see that page 49 doesn't even have anything on it, so it would be silly to print for that size. All that stuff shows up. The only other thing I will say is if you need to blend between sizes, let's say you were 2T chest, but you needed the height of a 5. You could add in size 5 and you can do your blending using just the two sizes you've highlighted.
All right. That was so much good information. So thank you, Ajaire, for doing that. You have a longer video on your YouTube?
Yep. If you go to the main blog or the main callajaire.com, you can go to my YouTube page from there. And I've got a longer video that really goes through all the different parts of the PDF and how to use the PDF pattern, because some people don't even know how to use a PDF pattern.
Exactly. Yeah. Hawk is slowly raising his hand. He really one of them.
I have a number of people in the comments that would love to know if you also make adult patterns.
I don't yet, but I do have some blocks I've been working on, and there are some very specific Cuddle related patterns that I am working on and will be releasing women's patterns soon, but I'm not giving a date because I'm trying not to like overcommit myself, but it's coming. And mostly because I want it. Like, I want to wear it. And my sister, she keeps saying too. So it's coming.
Yeah. And a lot of these, like, while her patterns are for children, a lot of these same style of things can totally work for adults. So when we talked about Cloud Cuddle, we showed Bianca was there. Well, she sent a picture in of her wearing a hoodie with the crosshatch fabric, the blue crosshatch, that she had made a hoodie for herself out of the same fabric. So you just got to find the right pattern for it. Unfortunately for now, Ajaire
not yet.
the children's ones, but you know, we'll see what comes down the pike. Okay, so the pattern and the sizing of it, this was the thing that I really wanted to talk about, because I think that this is something that PDF patterns do that are hard to understand exactly how that works. It can be confusing. So I want to show this. So you know what this is, Ajaire. This is the page printed out with all the sizes, which gets a little messy.
It looks horrifying.
It looks horrifying. And it looks even worse when it's in black and white.
Yes.
Because it's really, it's impossible to tell which size is which. And I didn't realize that I could print out the sizes. So when I did this, all of my pattern pieces look like this. And I'm sure that there are pieces that are not cut accurately. So what you just showed is how you can print it out so that it's any size. And I love the idea that you could do it between the sizes, like the blending. My sister was one of those tall, skinny girls that wore like a size 2 and size 7.
I mean, my 4-year-old is literally an 18-month chest and size 5. So I wasn't even joking when I was doing those two size ranges.
Yeah, it's exactly what happens. And I think that that's one of the joys of sewing for your children too, is that you can morph the sizes however fits them, just like we can do that for ourselves as adults. Like we can do it for kids too, because they don't fit those perfect little size 2. And I really appreciate that and explaining it. So let me show you. Where's the other? So let me flip through real quick. So here was the pattern. Show the bottom part because that's the more interesting, ugly, no offense part.
No
It's
offense.
like a rainbow.
It is. So you have all of these sizes, and I wanted to do a size 6 because that takes 2 yards. So I put it on I printed it all in my grayscale printer because it saves ink, and printing out all those patterns in there would be difficult. Use a lot of ink. And then I printed out the size 6. Can you see those lines? It's just one.
It's a lot
That's
easier.
it. Oh, so much easier. So much easier. So all of a sudden now it's really easy to tell where my pattern is.
I will say the advent of layers and PDFs has really changed the PDF sewing community. I used to have to, because you couldn't have layers, all my pattern pieces were centered so that you could see all the lines perfectly and you could trace them and all of that stuff. But it made it really difficult for people to blend sizing. And so in order to make it so that all of my patterns blend easily, I do have a blending section in the pattern tutorial. And I have all those pieces. The reason that looks so muddy at the bottom of that hood is because the way that you're going to adjust for sizing, that's exactly the position it needs to be in to make it super easy for you. So it makes looking at them terrible unless you use the layers, but it's really changed how people are able to make things and blend between sizes.
Totally. Yeah, it absolutely makes sense. And so the thing that I want to get across to people is that you can do this in layers, and lots of PDF patterns do this. So this isn't something that just Ajaire does. It really is. Lots and lots of PDF patterns will allow you to print just the layer that you need, or like she said, two layers that you can then blend those sizes together. So for me, that's something I often have to do when I'm sewing my own clothes, because I'm not the specific sizes that the pattern companies call for. So I just blend them together, and I've done that sort of thing, as well. And printing the 2 sizes is genius. So thank you. Okay. So the other thing you're going to get is how many pages are in this pattern, Ajaire?
Oh, I don't even know how many pages to print. I don't even know, 70 something.
I think it's 75.
Well, actually 75, I think, is the page number that starts at 35, but still it's an absurd number because there's so many views.
Explain to them
so many options.
How it can do it. And I'll show the page in your pattern that does this.
Yeah. So there is that print guide, which I mentioned in the video, and it tells you exactly which pages to print for which view. Teresa printed all of them because she's, an overachiever. But you don't need every single page. Now you could print every page, trace it off every time you're going to make it, especially because kids are growing in size constantly. So whether you're doing it for your kids, your grandkids, or you're doing it for a shop, you're going to be changing sizes. So what I like to do is just print off the size that I'm planning to do, the view that I'm planning to do. In the end, it probably wastes some paper, but the amount of like backbreaking tracing that you're saving, I think it's worth the extra pieces of paper.
I think so too. And I love this little chart. So I just wanted to kind of call attention to it, because I think it's so great, because there are just a ton of pages in the pattern to explain everything out, and then all the pages of the actual pattern, that I think that sometimes we feel a little overwhelmed when we're like, oh, I'm not printing that many pages. And then we miss out making this pattern because we didn't want to waste all those pages. Well, turns out she'll actually tell us which pages we need to print so that we can do it. And I think that that's great. So thank you. And I should read the pattern instructions more before I start sewing next time.
I mean, none of us do, right? We all just jump right in. And that's part of why I did that YouTube video. So in the YouTube video about how to use the PDF patterns, I really go through each of the different sections of the tutorial, because there's all sorts of information out there that's useful in that pattern that most of us skip right over because we're too busy and want to get started. And especially if you're new to PDF patterns, it's worth a watch to see what's in there.
Yep, absolutely, because it's really easy to skip past it. It looks like a bunch of charts, and I don't know that I really need this when it gets to the pattern. When in actuality, if you read through it, it'll make it a lot easier. The other thing that I heard you mention was that the pattern is the actual instructions are in the PDF at half size. So when they print out, it'll print out. I printed it 2 up, so it prints at this size. And I will say that this size is kind of too small to work with. So when I redid it, I printed it this size. And
Yep,
you
in
can
the
see-
on the print page, like where that print guide is, and it tells you how to print it, because it is very important how the pattern pieces need to be printed a very specific way, or else the sizing will be off. So if you look at, if you read that little section there about how to print the pattern pages, there is also a part that says if you're going to print the tutorial, which not everybody does, some people just read it from their phone or whatever. But if you are going to print the pattern pages, they're saved at half size. So you do want to print just the pattern pages at 200%, because it is pretty small if you print out just the, but I do that so that the PDF isn't some gigantic size. By saving it at half size there, it saves a lot of space.
Yes. Yeah, and absolutely. So this was 30 pages to print out all of the pattern instructions. So, and I did them, it's 30 pages, 15 sheets or whatever. So I did them front to back. This is just much easier. The illustrations are really good, and they're very helpful to see them at a larger size. Maybe if I were still 25, those smaller pictures would have worked for me. I thought they would, and then I was like, yeah, I can't tell what's happening here. So just so you know, do print them out a little bit bigger so you can see them. And like you said, not all of the instructions are going to pertain. So I didn't do any of the tiers. I didn't do the drop waist. So anything that refers to that, I don't necessarily need those patterns. So, or the instructions. So you can kind of skip through, but I really do feel like the patterns were really well written. So
thank you.
Okay, it was very, very good. I just had to actually read them.
Yeah, that's the hardest part, honestly. Who has time to stop and actually read anything?
All right. So tell me about making this with Cloud Cuddle. I have a couple things that came up, but you said you designed it specifically for Cloud Cuddle, right? Okay.
Yeah. And of course I had other fabrics in mind. So I knew people would use other fabrics. Not everybody could get their hands on Cloud Cuddle. It was very new at the time. So it's, usable for any kind of sweatshirting, anything with a little bit of stretch. I tried to make the instructions as simple as possible for using the Cloud Cuddle, because again, every week you go over tips of how to sew with Cuddle, and it's a little bit special. You do some special things with it. I sewed all the ones, the two that you have there and all the ones I've made, pretty much using the instructions exactly how they're written. But I've also been working with Cuddle and Cloud Cuddle for a long time, and I know really well how to work with it.
You have 10% on your AirPod.
Okay. And so not everybody maybe will feel comfortable sewing it exactly the way it is in the instructions. So that's why I thought it was great for you to come on and just what worked for you, what didn't work for you, how can we change it up. I also wrote a blog post over on my blog that I think I went live this morning that does have some suggestions on some things. I don't know exactly what your issues were, but it's got some suggestions on the pocket and then for gathering specifically.
Great. Yes. Yeah, those are two things. All right. So as Hawk noted, the way that I can hear Ajaire is I have an earbud in my ear, whatever you call it. So it's gonna die pretty quick here. So then I won't be able to hear you anymore.
And we will get a bunch of echo.
We will. So what was the question that we had? You said there was a question. Was it for Ajaire?
Oh, when we double the size of the pattern booklet to get it to be more easily readable, it's not that you're printing it at 200%. It's actually that you're printing it one up fit to page.
Yeah, you can absolutely do it that way.
You can do it either way. You could do do fit to page, or if it's a percentage, it's technically it's 200%. But yep, fit to page works fine. You just want to make sure you're not doing that for the pattern pieces themselves. Right. Those pages need to be printed more specifically.
Because even though you think that you might make them 200% and they'll fit an adult, that's not the way the patterns work either.
Exactly.
Don't do it. All right. So before this all goes a little bit crazy in the sound, I'm going to let you go, Ajaire. You could stick around in the Facebook comments or the YouTube comments. That would be great, and help answer some questions. And I'll talk about what I did here, what we've talked about, what we could change, and we'll go forward. Okay?
Yeah. Sounds good.
All right. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. And thanks for a great pattern.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Bye. Okay. So let's see if we can get this out of my ear and turning off the volume.
I think it should be off now.
Okay.
Is that right?
All right. So now I can't hear myself either. Well, never mind. Anyway, there was a little echo happening there in my ear the whole time.
The whole time?
So this is the whole time. So this is the one that I made. So we're going to talk about it this week. And then next week, we're going to do a little bit more sewing. But I wanted to talk about a few of the things that were a little bit interesting a little bit more, I don't know, just interesting to sew. One, the thing is ridiculously soft. Can we just say, I need it to be a little bit bigger so that I can fit it, because it is lovely. So it is soft on the inside. Okay, I did all of my finishing with the serger. You do not need to, but you absolutely can. I feel like finishing it with the serger was actually really super nice way of doing it. So if you have a serger available to you, this is a great way of doing it. We had talked about, so I didn't have any, well, I did. I will admit that I started off, and you, like most garment patterns, you're going to sew the front to the back. And I sewed the front to the back, and then I thought I had done it wrong. So I took it off and I switched the fronts around, and then I sewed really the wrong one over here. And I got all the way to putting the hood on. And then I realized I had completely sewn it wrong. So make sure you're labeling your pieces as you put it together. The pattern was really easy to put together. The only place really that I actually started to have any sort of an issue was with the pockets. And that's really because we have so many layers here. So there's a bunch of layers with pockets. So she mentioned that on her blog, she has a blog post about it, because the way these were made is 2 layers. So I ended up doing it with a C3 on the inside, which is a little smoother. But the truth is that this is soft on both sides. So you could absolutely just hem this. Is a variation. You could bind this. She has some more ideas over on the web or on her blog, because the issue is that when you get over here, you have a whole lot of layers here. And so my serger was able to kind of smush it down, but we end up with a lot of layers that we're stitching over, especially here where it's top stitched. So I don't know if you can see how bulky that is, but it's a lot.
Got it.
Okay, so that was a lot to sew over. So we talked about some ways that maybe we could get rid of one of the layers here. The other thing is I did kind of force my machine to do the top stitching here, and you don't have to do that. Okay, but it's just got some nice little turn under cuffs, super duper easy. Has a cute little magnetic closure and the separating zipper. So when you're looking for a zipper, I got mine for next week. So I got all my little pieces. I got a little separating zipper here. Okay. You want to get them so that they fit. This one, I bought a longer one and had to, I think this was my 14-inch, and I cut it down. I did a little stitching at the top so that we couldn't lose the zipper pull off the top. But buy yourself a separating zipper. Otherwise it doesn't open down the front. It will just sort of, you'd have to step in. We don't want to do that. Okay.
What happens if you don't sew the top when Hawk tests it? And what happens? Throw the zipper pull across the room?
It just goes away. But you know what? The easy thing about it being a separating zipper is he was able to just slide the pull back on and stick the other side in and zip it up. So
it was a good moment of recovery. I felt
it's not like when that happens on a regular zipper and you have to like pull the bottom apart and try to get it back both in there. That's a pain. This was actually pretty easy, but still what I did is just some stitching around the top to get it so that the zipper pull couldn't pull past it. Okay. So next week we're going to tackle this project, and we're going to talk through some of these little bits some more. One of the other things that I wanted to talk about was something that she had mentioned that was really important. We put it in the show notes about using a stretch stitch. So I do want to actually show that. So this, I did it the first time. So that whole one and this one, I started doing it just with the straight stitch.
You said, no, this test is with C3 and
this
not
is
with Cloud.
Right. This is with C3 so you guys could see what I was doing. This one actually has a little bit more stretch than the Cloud Cuddle does, but I just started stitching it because I had done this whole one. I did this all with a straight stitch. And then she was like, oh, make sure you use a stretch stitch. And I was like, oh, I didn't use a stretch stitch. So I wanted to kind of test it out because that's what I do. And so I did the straight stitch with the poly, and you know, it was fine. I said, do you really have to? She said, yeah, you really have to. Because what happens, we can show it here a little bit easier, is these stitches here underneath the arm, when the kid starts doing the thing where they're yanking and pull, yeah, see?
Oh, look at that.
That was all I had to do.
Oh, interesting.
So that's what will happen. So let's see if I can give this a yank. Yeah, look at that. That was a great test because I hadn't pulled it at all yet, but she told me it would work better.
That was a straight stitch.
This was the straight stitch.
And
with poly.
With polyester thread.
you know, doing everything the way that I normally do it when I'm sewing with Cuddle. And then she said that what it ended up happening is that the underarms broke from kids pulling, you know, because kids, like we were saying, if it doesn't want to come off, if it's not coming off easily, the kid is totally just.
I take my hoodies off with my elbow.
So really, like, the kids are just going to be a little bit more abrasive with everything. So this is a great example. So that's great. So use the stretch stitch because it really does help. So let me show you what the stretch stitch is on here. So so again, we're just sewing this on regular Cuddle right now because I wanted to kind of show you technique a little bit more than the cloud, and we'll do that next week. So we'll be back for part 2 of this. Okay, so I'm folding this in half so I can find my half. Okay, I'll do the same thing here. So this is like the hood facing is what this is. So this gets sewn on like this.
So when she says that this C3 version is easier for you to see, because the Cloud Cuddle is double-sided, there is no backside to show you. It will all the stitches get buried in the Cuddle, which, by the way, makes taking stitches out of Cloud Cuddle a little extra. So
a little harder,
you know,
but like, yeah, these stitches in here, there's no way you can actually see what that stitch is doing in there. It's nigh impossible to see anything in it, which is great because you don't have to, you know, there's actually like a stitching line down here, but you can't see it because it just sinks into the cloud. So that's literally, yeah, why I'm doing it on the C3, because at least it has a backing you can see. But it does mean, you know, any mistakes really do just go away. Okay, so I'm going to pin this here. And then I'm going to pin it down here, right sides together. And even though the cloud is double-sided, there is a right side and a wrong side to it. This one does as well. It's just a lot more obvious. So I kind of wanted to just show you the way that we stitch it. And obviously I wanted to show you why, which was a great example. I just say I love it when things work out. That was like, oh yeah, she was right.
I have a question that I don't understand.
Okay.
I'm very excited.
Okay.
Lightning or triple stitch?
Lightning.
All right.
Okay.
We're going to see it here in a minute. I take it.
Yes. Okay. So this is the one that I like to do. It's on mine. It says a stem stitch, which is what I used, and it was fine. If somebody is a BabyLock person and knows something different, but that was what I found. So there is this it? No, that's the decorative stitch. That's it. There's a triple stretch stitch and the lightning stitch. And the lightning stitch is the one that she had suggested, that Ajaire suggested, and she can maybe pop in there and give an explanation why. She sews with knits a lot more than I do. And when I sew with knits, I like to use my serger. Okay, so the other thing that we're going to do is we're going to sew with a 3/8 inch seam allowance. So that's the way that she's written the pattern. So make sure that you're always looking at what is the seam allowance that the pattern is asking for. So we're going to sew this a little bit smaller. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to do my little lock stitch here. Okay, and I'm going to go forward, and we're going to try to watch and see what that needle is doing.
Rin's got your info for the Bernina sewists out there.
Great.
Bernina 440 is a number 9 stitch.
Great. So if you could see, this is going kind of back and forth, and what it's doing is kind of going this way. Okay, so it's doing like it's like a lightning bolt. It's like a little Z. It's a tiny little zigzag, but it's a weird zigzag that it's not really just a small zigzag.
So a small zigzag does not actually do the same.
It doesn't do exactly the same. This is a better stretch because it stretches further. Okay, so I'm gonna switch it over to the triple stitch and see if we can tell any difference when we give this a tug. Oh, I switched my position over, so now my seam allowance is gonna be different. I didn't love it. Okay, so let's watch this slowly and see what it's doing. So 1, 2, 1. Okay, so it's going forward, backward, forward, forward, backward, forward. Okay, so that's what that was doing. So one of the reasons that I don't often use a stretch stitch when I'm dealing with Cuddle is that sometimes we'll end up starting to push it. And I noticed that this wants to kind of act a little differently than this did. So the lightning stitch, see if we can show that really close. See if you guys can kind of see that. It is kind of, you can kind of see that it's kind of slanty is what it looks like, but it actually has a pretty nice little stretch to it. Okay, and this is on a non-stretchy area. So the fabric isn't really going to stretch a whole lot here. As we get up here, here's the triple stitch, and it feels a little more stable, which is interesting because it's really on the same area. So this one does feel like it has a little bit more stretch to it. So there we go. So it's moving. Yeah. Yes, that's exactly what I was saying. Yep.
We're reading Ajaire's comment.
Sorry, I was reading Ajaire's comment because I knew she would have more insight on it. And that's exactly what I found, is that this one tends to move the fabric a lot. It doesn't work as well. I don't see it happening too much here, but I've definitely seen it happen otherwise, where it gets sort of pushy. It's pushing this and I have less control, which is often why I want to do a straight stitch. So the lightning stitch works really, really well for this. And it does have some really nice movement in there, even though this is on the straight. So that's what you want to look for. I also think it's less bulky. Like this is just, it's a thick seam. You know what I mean? You could see the seam a lot more, which isn't necessarily something I want. So, but they're both going to hide in there. Okay. So the lightning stitch is what we want. All right. So and
it's not actually called a lightning stitch on this machine. Is it called a lightning stitch on any machine specifically, or is that just like the common call?
That's the one. I'm gonna light up the one that we want. That's the one that you want to use.
That's why it's called a lightning stitch.
Yep.
But it's really on this machine called a stem stitch.
Okay, so those are two things that I learned: is use the lightning stitch, the stretch stitch. Make sure that you're doing that on all of those, and you can tackle the pocket a little differently. She's got some other things on her blog that you can read about. I also I got the snap, so I just got a sew-in snap is what I did, and I just hand sewed it onto mine. She gives you the sizes if you have cam snaps. So if you sew a lot of children's stuff, you probably have those. I just had old snaps in the drawer that I found to use.
Stash snaps.
Stash snaps. They're my favorite, truthfully.
Are we having a Snapchat?
I don't. We are. I don't tend to sew children's stuff anymore. Now that mine are grown and I don't have any grants. Okay, so I want to show you some of the fabrics. We're going to talk about those just really quick, and then we're going to go for, we're doing fine, for next week. So these are some of the ones, we showed these before. This is the one that I made the little sample out of it, and it is called Fall Critters Snow. All right, so super cute, and there are just a ton of variety. As I said, these are just hitting the stores now. So if you haven't...
Gnomes.
If you haven't seen them out there, that's why. So this is one of the choices that we have for next week. Cute little rainbows. I love that one. And then this is that leopard. So this is a fun one. It is called, I think, Leopard Rainbow Pastel. So that's what you want to look for, is Cloud Cuddle Leopard Rainbow Pastel, which is just really, it is one that honestly, if I saw it like this, I don't know if I'd be like, oh yeah, that would be really cute. But then, you know, you see it like that and you're like, oh my gosh, it's so cute. So cute. Look at this. It's adorbs. Okay. So they have a ton of them. Let's show a couple others in here. So you can see there's some kid ones. There's some more adult versions, some fun ones. This is the one that needs to be a robe immediately. And then some other variations. So we have
dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs. Yeah. So we have some really fun varieties of
Hi,
the Cloud
my name's
Cuddle.
Hawk. I'm 5.
So if you have seen any of these out in stores, we really would like to know. Let us know where you found them and where others can find them as well, because they are just getting out there, and it's still kind of a nichey little project. We're all trying to find out, what can we make with it? What can we do with this stuff? It's great. Like, it's so yummy and soft and lovely. For me, it was like the makeup cloths and the robe were the thing that I was like, sold. This is great. The hoodie, fabulous. If you got little ones or big ones, it's great. There's all sorts of things that you can make with it. And the blankets is what we talked about last time. And the blanket that we showed up there is actually 2 layers.
Oh yeah, this is cloudy.
It's cloudy. So let's see if you can kind of get some sort of a... It's very squishy in here.
It's the bounce back that you can really, because it's 2 layers and it's got 2 layers on the inside, it is just extra bounce back. It's yummy. And it's not heavy. I don't feel like for the thickness, it's as heavy as normal Luxe Cuddle, because it's got so much air inside of it.
Right, because it's actually, we talked about this when we talked about the Cloud Cuddle before, is that it's, if I remember, it's 3 on the front and 4 on the back, 4 millimeters. I think is what it is. So it's 7 millimeters thick. Like it's thick, but it's not heavy, and it's not, we were saying it's dense, but it's not dense in a way that makes it difficult to deal with. It really does so very nicely. So when we come back next week, we'll talk more about it. We'll actually sew through things. The other thing I wanted to make sure that you looked for is if you're interested in doing the tiers on it, that you look at her blog and talk about the ruffling on this, because she gathered these layers together. This is thicker. Like we said, it's 7 millimeters thick. So gathering it is a little bit different. She really recommends using 3 layers of stitching rather than just the 2 and gathering those up. And it works very well. It's beautiful. We'll look on the inside here. Okay. So it gathers up really nicely. She serged up those edges. It looks great. Okay. So lots of possibilities with this that makes it very versatile and fun to be able to use. So okay, so we're going to be back next week. I'm going to cut out all of my pieces. Oh, I wanted to talk about that just a little bit. Sorry. Because I have a couple of little pieces here. So one of the things about the Cloud Cuddle that we have to do a little differently. So here's my pocket. So I'm going to make the camo one for next week is what I'm going to do. I might have to get a new zipper. We got this before I decided on fabric, and I don't think the white's going to work.
Maybe we could dye it. Can we over dye the zipper?
I don't know, or we could just buy a black zipper.
Okay.
That would work too. Oops, this was, because I already cut some out of one. Okay. All right, so the Cloud Cuddle does have a nap. You can kind of see it better than you can a lot of times, which is interesting. Okay. So you can see smoothly here. On the back, you can totally see it.
Oh, yeah.
Well.
It ruffles up.
It ruffles up. Okay. So when we're cutting this, normally when we're cutting anything that it's, fluffier, that's 7 millimeters, for instance, we would, draw it on the back and cut it. This one is a little different because we can't really, it doesn't have the backing. What I have found is that actually drawing it on the back and cutting it out still works just fine. And it's what I have done on several projects now and will continue to do. Mostly because it's really easy to see. They will always have the white background. So, because that's where they all come. I'm going to use my special little pattern weights from ByAnnie. So yeah, the grain line, is that what you were looking at?
Yep.
Yep. So the grain line is marked on all of them, and that's really important. She also notes again 3/8 inch seam allowance.
So in this case, grain line and nap should coincide.
Yes. Well, the grain line goes both directions, but the nap
goes one way. But at least it's on the right axis.
It would be on the grain. Yeah. So this is obviously the one that I did first, that I printed it out with all of my sizes. Pain in the tuchus. Don't do it. Okay. Okay, and these are the pattern weights that we got from, I made them from ByAnnie, who I mentioned earlier, because she had suggested them when we did the Cloud Cuddle before, that it holds it really well, because you can't pin this quite as easily.
If you try to pin a pattern on before you mark it or cut it out, it has a tendency to make it too 3-dimensional.
It will be totally warpy.
Got it. They are super cute. Look at that. And they're, so by the way, they are heavy ceramic. They've got a nice felt back. They're lovely.
Mm-hmm. So you can see it just makes it kind of warpy with the pins in it. And if I leave it here, I can get it nice and flat. So there. Perfectly done. Easier too. Much less time to just throw some pattern weights on there.
What is this?
I don't know. Clover.
Air and water soluble.
Air and water soluble.
Disappearing ink.
So this one will actually disappear if it sits here long enough, which I've learned the hard way. Don't let it sit there for too long, especially being overnight. And we're just going to cut this out. So I've traced my pattern. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut it with my rotary cutter. You can absolutely use a little ruler to keep your lines nice and straight. I have some practice. Okay. So one of the things that's interesting about the Cloud Cuddle is that you can see it, like, it doesn't leave a whole mess, and it's and where it touches is where it leaves mess. There is definitely mess on there, like there is cuddle dust for sure, but it sticks really well to this, which means getting it off is kind of easier because you can take this all, do a bunch of your cutting, and then take it somewhere and then just really shake it
or put it in the dryer,
with a damp washcloth. So any of the longer fibers, that works really well for. So I'm going to show you on here. Get rid of that. So you'll see there is still quite a bit of cuddle dust that will come off. So we'll vacuum that up when we're done. But I really wanted to show you because I feel like this is one of those places, I guess, that because it doesn't look like it has much cuddle dust when you take it off, it's not really messy, it's not losing stuff everywhere. So then I kind of just can let it be. And I made the mistake of not really cleaning it off super well before I started sewing with it, and then I just kept finding it on my machine, and I knew it got in my machine, and I had to clean up underneath the bobbin and stuff. So it just required more cleanup there. And so I'm just warning you that it will still make a mess. So just make sure that you get that off before you get to your machine. As always, it kind of hides because it wants to stick to the Cloud Cuddle really well. But what we want to do is get it off there. So putting it through the dryer with a damp washcloth or taking it outside, giving it a good crack. Whatever you need to do to get rid of the mess. Okay.
I have a Rolling Stones song in my head. Can anybody guess what it is?
Okay, so are there any questions that we need to address? Is there anything that you saw?
No, I think having Ajaire in the comments right now has sorted a bunch of that out. Thank you.
And she'll be back with us.
And Jackie. And Adriana and everybody else that's jumped in. I see a ton of brand ambassadors in there as well. Thank you all for being here and helping out. That's great.
Great. So we'll be back next week. We're going to come back. So we just want to kind of like introduce the pattern this time. Make sure that you can grab the pattern from her. Again, the discount code was Shannon, all caps, at callajaire.com. And that one is her website. You can go find it there. She'll probably put a link in the comments. You can go find one of her patterns. We did talk about them before. So if you find that YouTube from before when we talked about using Cuddle in clothing, then Ajaire joined me for that one too, as well as ByAnnie. And we talked all about using lots of Cuddle in stuff. And there's probably some inspiration in that video as well. So you can find her pattern. If you want to make it for an adult, find an adult pattern. Come back next week. Oh, shoot. Here we go. Oh, shoot.
That is what happens when the AirPod runs out of battery.
Finally completely.
Ta-da.
We're waiting for that to happen. That was pretty quick. I mean, you handled it pretty quick. So we'll be back next week. And so if you want to find yourself an adult pattern, absolutely. We'll be over in the I Love Cuddle Facebook group. So if anybody comes up with an idea of a pattern that they would like to kind of try out with it, that's an adult size, I would love to hear it. I want to make one for myself as well. And I have some patterns that are kind of tucked away that I might go dig through and see if I can find one for myself. The fabric is just so lovely. But we'll be back next week and we'll talk a little bit more about the sewing issues that I kind of wanted to work through, how we make Cloud Cuddle do the job that we want it to do, which is to keep us nice and cozy and warm. Super soft. Okay, it's gonna be fun. We'll be back then. So next week will be part 2 of the Ajaire Morgana zip up, okay, with the Cloud Cuddle. And then the week after that, we have a new pattern that we're going to be releasing, which I'm super excited about. It's a new pocket scarf pattern. And so that has been a project that has been asked for on that I Love Cuddle group. So if you are not a part of it, go join us over there. It's great. I love it. So you can sign up for that. You can also subscribe to our YouTube and get notifications for when we go live. We need a prize winner.
We do two prizes, 2 winners.
2 prizes.
Who we got? All right. We've got Mary Hofschauser from YouTube and Dolores Karen on Facebook.
Very nice. So Dolores and what's the other name? Mary. So if the two of you will reach out to us, email us at info@shannonfabrics.com, send us your mailing address and your phone number. It's very important so that we can get that shipped off to you. And if you have one of the cuddles that you are particularly interested in, give us a couple of choices and we'll see if we can get you one of the cloud cuddles that you'll absolutely love. So we can kind of go pick through the Shannon Fabric. Okay. And we'll be back next week. Is there anything else I needed to tell them?
I think we're in good shape. Thanks, everybody.
Oh, we did want to talk about, we had talked about sharing about the previews. And now I can't remember. Watch the previews. They're the first week of the month. I can't remember.
Oh, we were gonna talk about that. Just briefly talk about that new printed seal.
Oh, cause I remember what it was. Thank you. Because one of the things that I wanted to discuss, and come on over and look really quick. We're going to talk about this. We can talk about it more next week. One of the things that I think is interesting is that these two look very much alike. This is Lux Cuddle, like that they both are soft and fluffy, and like they're extra long and dense. The hand is similar, and I think visually when you see them on a bolt, it might be easy to confuse them. But this is the Lux Cuddle seal. So make sure you take a look at it. It's a much longer nap, and it has just the regular backing on it. So that's like I saw somebody else get confused online, and on the preview they had mentioned it, and they had shown this lovely galaxy with the Lux Cuddle seal, and I decided I needed it. That's the backings.
Yep. Yeah. All right. And there we go.
Because I watched it, and I was like, oh, I kind of love that fabric. And the galaxy is so great. So anyway, all right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for hanging out with me and talking about the Morgana. Thank you to Ajaire for joining me and answering all the questions. We'll be back next week to do more. I'm very excited about it. And until then, happy sewing.